Today, we're going to learn the forehand topspin loop. There are fundamental differences between a loop and a flat hit. Many amateur players plateau because their looping ability is lacking. The game has evolved from fast attacks to fast attacks with loops, and now, it's dominated by two-winged looping. So why do we need to loop? Can't we just use a flat hit? First, when the opponent's ball has spin, a flat hit is more likely to result in an error. You can think of flat hitting as having a ceiling, while the loop has a much higher potential. Second, the loop is primarily for counteracting and generating spin. For instance, against balls from short or long pips, you'll make a lot of mistakes if you only know how to flat hit. The third and most important reason is consistency. Hitting from a static position is one thing, hitting on the move is completely different. When your footwork, rhythm, or positioning is off, using friction helps you maintain consistency. While on the move or when the rally's rhythm changes, unforced errors from flat hitting increase significantly. There are three main types of loops. First is the traditional loop, where your stance is about 1 meter away from the table. This loop focuses on a full, extended motion and proactive power generation. The second type is the quick counter loop, often seen in the women's game. In standard terms, we call this a quick loop. A quick loop is executed from a closer stance, using a compact, brushing motion similar to a forehand drive. The third is the far table counter loop, executed from mid to far distance. It's common in the men's game, European styles, or when two players get into a forehand attacking rally. If both players are attacking, it becomes a counter looping rally. If they are defending and I'm attacking, I'm executing a power loop. If they're faster and take the initiative, I use a quick loop to counter. So, topspin looping is mainly divided into these three types. Today, we'll focus on the standard, active power loop. There are 4 key differences between a loop and a drive. Let's go through them one by one. First, is the body. Many people struggle with looping because a flat hit can be done with just the arm. But a loop requires your entire body. The biggest difference is that a loop requires coordinated power generation from your legs, hips, waist, and shoulders. Let's start with the feet. The modern trend is a more parallel stance. This parallel stance helps you coil and store energy more effectively. So we generally use a parallel stance, also because of the modern, balanced, two-winged game. Previously, players relied on stepping around for the forehand, but now a strong backhand is essential. So, you can have your left foot slightly forward, or adopt a more parallel stance, to ensure good body rotation. Second is leg movement. For a standard loop, the first task for your legs is to maintain a horse stance. If you tend to stand up straight, you can practice this horse stance against a wall. First, you have to get down into the squat. Next, your legs must work in coordination. They don't generate rotation on their own. For beginners, you can use the balls of your feet to drive the leg rotation. But for advanced players, keep your weight on the balls of your feet, and let your legs follow the power from your hips and waist. Look, this is how it rotates. Don't just twist your legs, because that sinks them with the hips and waist in a loose way. I feel the waist and legs should be tensed against each other, like wringing a towel. The power you release from this tense state will be much more explosive than a simple, fluid motion. When the opponent's ball is very fast, you can use a more fluid motion to match its speed. But when you are actively generating power, the balls of your feet should be braced, not twisting. Our legs follow the body, driven by the hips and waist for power. But maintaining the horse stance is a must. For a topspin loop, your horse stance should be consistently parallel, with no up and down movement. Don't move up and down, it's a backward and forward rotation. Older players don't need to squat too low, but you need to be slightly down. Knee pain often comes from a squat and rise motion. Your knees should be in a state of constant engagement, like this. If you squat and rise, after a few years of playing, you'll risk knee effusion or meniscus problems. So your knees should remain constantly engaged, without any up and down movement. That's it for leg movement. The biggest difference in leg use between a loop and a drive is, a drive uses both legs equally. When looping, you're in a horse stance, and more of your weight will transfer to your right leg. In your stance, the right leg must feel heavier than the left. Your right leg must be loaded to push off, you have to store energy in it. That's how you get the push for power from the ground. Without storing energy, there's no push, and your legs can't generate force. You'd be wasting these big leg muscles of yours. Stand up straight, widen your stance, and bring your shoulder inside your legs. Don't just be shoulder width apart. You must get low and lean forward. Your knees should point outwards. When you start your loop, the weight shifts over, and this becomes a lunge stance. During preparation, maintain a horse stance, knees out, legs wide, then rotate. This way, the shot is loaded, and your legs will definitely generate power. The biggest problem to avoid is the up and down movement. Also avoid looping while standing straight up, this will cause the ball to fly upwards. Your knees should always point outwards, never inwards, or your legs will be unstable. That covers our leg movements. Next are the hips and waist. My father said looping feels like Latin dance, not a slow, flowing Mongolian dance. Latin dance involves this kind of twisting motion. And that's how power is generated in table tennis. The overall range of motion isn't actually that large. The main role of your core is to stay tight. The hip drive is key. Remember, in table tennis, rotation and loading are key to storing energy in your body. And pushing and driving are the steps where our body releases that power. Rotating and loading stores energy. Pushing with the leg and driving with the hip is the power generation process. A ball hit this way, versus one hit with just your arm, will have a completely different quality. Your body has the most power. Let the hips drive the legs to generate force. This is crucial. Don't let the legs drive the hips, that will dissipate your power. The hips lead the legs. It's a very compact body motion with a small range, generating explosive, short power. The power from the waist and hips is explosive, thrusting forward like this. For a normal loop, you only need to complete this motion. You don't need a huge movement. If you find that engaging your hips makes the ball go long, it means you're used to hitting with only your arm. Now that you're using your body, the ball is going out. If it goes out, you need to reduce the power from your arm. Is it better to get the ball on the table with 50% arm power or 80%? Of course, 50%. Generating power from the body while using only 50 to 60% arm strength to hit a power loop. That's what professionals do. Without body power, you'll have to use 80%, 90%, or even 120% of your arm strength, just swinging wildly. This is why amateurs often miss when they try to hit a powerful loop. The power you see is actually transferred through my body, not generated by my hand. That's how I can maintain consistency over many shots. Your hand is like you, it's the most direct tool. But your body is like your parents, always looking out for you. Just as parents love their child unconditionally, your body is there to support you. The hand can do a lot on its own, but when faced with risk or difficulty, our parents help us without reservation. So in a match, when you're under pressure or in a tough situation, using your body is what guarantees high-quality shots. Your hand can become unsteady. Our body, like our parents, ensures we can play 10 or 20 matches without losing our stability. If you rely on your hand, you might play well in the first game, but it can become unsteady in the second. And by the next match, it's like you've forgotten how to play. The hand has its limits. Next, let's talk about the arm and hand. The first major difference between looping and hitting is the body. The second is the backswing position. For a topspin loop, should the backswing be backward or downward? Let me explain why a professional topspin loop backswing is downward. Many players wonder, why swing down? Let me demonstrate. Why downward? First, to generate spin. If you brush the back of the ball versus brushing up from below it, the latter will always generate more spin, and loops require spin. What's the second key point? Try this, swing your arm backward. Your shoulder, upper arm, and forearm are all tensed. Now swing downward. Even if you swing down hard, your arm and shoulder remain relaxed. So, amateur players who can't stay relaxed often have a habit of pulling their arms straight back. No matter how fast you swing downward, your arm can maintain a relaxed state. If you watch players who can relax and accelerate, their backswing is always like this. You can't achieve relaxed acceleration with a backward swing. So, only a downward arm position can ensure I am relaxed during the backswing. But here's a question, won't a downward backswing make the ball go out? The downward motion is a preparatory posture. By the time I make contact with the ball, haven't I already brought my racket up? I'm not contacting the ball at the lowest point of my backswing. My contact point is up here. The racket has already been brought up. You don't swing down and then hit the ball at the lowest point of that swing. You swing down, and by the time you meet the ball, your racket is just slightly below it, not a huge difference. You don't need to worry about the ball going out. If it goes out, it's either because your swing was late, or you're standing too close while still using a downward swing. We're talking about looping from a meter away, where a downward racket head is perfectly fine. I love the forehands of Ma Long, Sunning Shah, and Fan Zhendong. Watch them practice closely. All of their topspin backswings are downward. Sometimes even lower than how amateurs loop a backspin ball. Because swinging down ensures spin and relaxation. It also ensures you don't make premature contact with the bottom of the racket face, maintaining optimal space for contact. So, the biggest difference is that for a drive, we stay behind the ball. For a loop, I need to get down, I need to learn to create a combined force. It's no longer about hitting forward from behind the ball. It's about getting down as the ball drops. My racket moves up, our trajectories align, and I create this combined force. The ball comes this way, I go that way. It comes like this, I go like this. So the most critical part of a topspin loop is that it requires storing energy and a proper backswing. You have to wait for it here, meet it, and then execute the motion. This is the combined force loop. The difficulty of the loop lies in this aspect. The difficulty is in the body mechanics and in timing this combined force. Because many amateurs pull their arms straight back and just hit forward into the ball. The most critical point for this loop is to fully drop your arm downward. To achieve this downward arm position, you need to do two things. First, your shoulder. From an upright position, your right hand should be able to touch the direction of your knee. Stand ready, your racket hand should be able to touch towards your knee. Your shoulder must drop. You must not rotate with level shoulders, it has to be a rotation with a dropped shoulder. It's like a roly-poly toy leaning to this side. I used to struggle to get low enough. I felt low, but my coach said I wasn't. Eventually, my coach had an idea, he put a racket on the floor. He made us squat down to pick it up, then loop. Let's see if you can't get down now. What feels exaggerated to us might just be the correct form. It's meant to feel very exaggerated. The difficulty in table tennis is that you can't see your own movements. What we think we're doing and what we're actually doing are very different. So, first, everyone's shoulder must drop, with the feeling of touching your knee area. Then hold your racket. This is your normal backswing posture. Your arms should not be completely straight during the backswing. It's a bent arm backswing. Your arm should always maintain a slight bend. A completely straight arm will lead to elbow injuries and will slow down your swing speed. So, we must maintain a bent arm during the backswing. Drop the shoulder. The height of your elbow should be roughly at the level of your waist and hip. That's correct. Any higher than that is a mistake. Next, the position of the backswing for a loop. For a topspin ball, your backswing doesn't need to go behind your hip. That's too difficult for amateurs because it requires footwork. So, we'll use staying close to the thigh as our standard. This allows our body to create the proper swing path. Don't pull your arm out horizontally. A horizontal backswing affects your stance and, second, an open arm will cause problems later on. Keep it close to your thigh, get your body low, and point your left shoulder at the ball. When I do my backswing, my left shoulder points towards my center line. If your left shoulder is pointing cross-court during your backswing, it means your body hasn't rotated enough. Left shoulder to the center, right shoulder to the line. Then rotate and drive. Watch me loop a few balls. Pay attention to my shoulder. Left shoulder points to the middle, get down, and the motion becomes very coordinated. Close to the thigh, watch the shoulder. A quick loop is done the same way, just a smaller version. The process is identical. All looping motions are just scaled up or down, but the fundamental framework is the same. Third, let's talk about timing. For a forehand topspin loop, should you hit at the peak of the bounce or in the early descending phase? As a beginner, you should indeed loop in the early descending phase. That is, at this point after the ball has bounced. This is the early descending phase. However, I believe that a standard topspin loop must be hit at the peak. In a match, if you wait for the descending phase, your shot will be much slower. Normally, you should hit at the peak. But why do we have you start with the descending phase? It's to get you to stand a bit further back. If you stand close, you'll inevitably hit on the rise or at the peak. By standing further back, you'll have time to wait for the descending phase. Second, the descending phase allows you to execute your full motion better. If you're too close, you'll be rushed and afraid of missing the ball. Having you loop in the descending phase is to give you time to store energy, generate power, and complete your full stroke at a slower pace. Third, the most important thing about the loop is learning to control the rhythm. Because you are now initiating the attack. The flat hit you think is an attack is nothing to a skilled player. And they won't give you a chance to hit it flat anyway. So when you start attacking, you must control the rhythm. In table tennis, hitting the ball early is easy, waiting for it is hard. I suggest that when you start practicing with multi-ball or a robot, you must learn by controlling the timing to the early descending phase. Don't rush it. Practice in the early descending phase, learn to wait. Once you've mastered that, then practice hitting at the peak. When you're just starting out, I really don't recommend looping at the peak. If you practice at the peak, you'll rush and hit on the rise during a match. Learning to control rhythm is the first major hurdle to get from beginner to intermediate, not your technique. To control the rhythm of the game, you must first be able to control your own rhythm. At a higher level, you can control the match rhythm by varying your shots. A quick loop, a drive, a light brush, a block, a thin brush, or a thick brush to create changes. That's a problem for a later stage. The primary stage is being able to control whether you loop the ball on the rise, at its peak, or in its descending phase. Master that, and you will improve very quickly. As you advance, the key to improvement is definitely no longer the technical framework.